Chatters, I'm Pit Trekkie, and welcome to the 100th episode of Pittsburgh's Trek Chat. Well, it's been several years now since I started this channel. Finally made it to 100 videos. I'm really looking forward to having a special one with you here today. So what I really want to talk about in today's episode is basically just some of the news that's been coming out of Star Trek in relation to what's going to be happening in 2024. So a lot of different news bits that I want to kind of get to in this episode, and unfortunately report on the death of a Star Trek actor, Gary Graham, which I will do shortly after the rest of the video. So basically what I think we need to really talk about is, what are we getting from Star Trek in 2024? We know that we still have Discovery, we have Prodigy, we have Lower Decks that are still out there on the air, Strange New Worlds, and we have some other Star Trek projects that are coming up. But we don't really have a whole lot of information on when they're being released. And I think a lot of that had to do with the writer's strike causing delays, things like that. But so I think that's what we're going to start with, is what do we have coming out this year. So let's start talking about Star Trek Discovery Season 5. So we've known now for at least a year that the 5th season is going to be the end of Star Trek Discovery. It's done at this point, but we know that they also were able to refilm the finale, so that way it made it a series finale rather than a season finale. Now, we have a trailer, obviously, that we've seen, but beyond that, there's not a whole lot of discussion about what the season is going to be about. But basically, Michelle Paradise, who's the showrunner, basically said that the 5th season is going to be satisfying, and that basically it's going to still have a structured arc, but it's also going to have a lot more, like, kind of, I guess, more episodic adventures is the way that she put it. And basically, the whole arc of the season is about, quote, uncovering a mystery. So that's all we really know about it. I mean, the trailer seems pretty action-packed from what I've seen, but I don't think there's a whole lot of story that's really been given at this point. Let's hope that Discovery actually gets the conclusion that it deserves. I think taking a little bit of a lead from Strange New Worlds and having fun episodes and they're not only about adventure but also about exploring as well, would be really good for the ending of this series. In terms of when it's going to come out, we don't know, except that it is going to come out sometime in 2024. But you would like to think that maybe they could get something out sooner rather than later, because Star Wars just came out with a whole list of different projects that they're going to be coming out with, and Star Wars The Bad Batch Season 3 is coming out February 21st. So you would think that they would want something to kind of compete with Star Wars to some degree, so there's some sort of content out there. So, as of now, we don't know when the 5th season is going to air, but hopefully it'll be sometime soon for fans. The next series that I want to talk about is Star Trek Prodigy, and going into Season 2. So we know that Paramount Plus basically let go of Prodigy and took it off of their streaming services, and we know that it got picked up by Netflix. So Netflix started airing the complete first season on December 25th, on Christmas, and apparently the reviews and the ratings were actually pretty good when it first came back on the air, now on Netflix. So when are we going to get Star Trek Prodigy Season 2? Well, again, it looks like it's going to arrive sometime in 2024 with 20 episodes. I don't know if they're going to just do them all at once, or if they're going to break it up in 10 and 10 again, like they did with the first season. But basically, the work on the series wrapped up in December. So we'll see basically when that ends up coming out. So there are going to be two basic storylines that happen with Star Trek Prodigy in Season 2. We know that Gwyn went back to her homeworld, so that way she could try to stop whatever event is going to happen in the future with the Federation that destroys their planet. So that's going to be a big issue, but we also have the rest of the crew, the group at Starfleet Academy, and basically they become apprentices or whatever under Admiral Janeway. And we know that the Doctor is going to be taking them to the USS Voyager A, which will be really fun to see. And we got a little snippet of it in a trailer from a few months ago. But that's really about it. That's all we know about what's going to be happening this season. We know that the crew is still going to be trying to go and find Chakotay, who's apparently trapped on Gwyn's homeworld. So we'll see what happens in that regard. I can't wait for Prodigy to come back. I actually bought both the first 10 episodes and the second 10 episodes on DVD on New Year's Eve. and I started doing a Prodigy rewatch, because I've only watched the episodes one time each when they were on Paramount Plus. Now I want to go back and actually see, kind of get a better understanding of the series as a whole. But I'm really enjoying the rewatch so far. All right, so the next series we can talk about, Lower Decks Season 5. All right, so they were already working, Paramount, on getting Season 5 ready to go. The show has always come out basically in August of each year since it premiered. And I'd like to think that Season 5 is going to continue that tradition, but there was some voiceover work that was kind of held up by the writer's strike. So basically it could be delayed a little bit later into the year, but again, there is no specific date that's been listed. Heck, even 2024 was really not even listed. It was just kind of assumed. So let's hope that if anything, it just gets delayed to mid-fall, if anything, and go from there. But the show is still continuing to do very well. It's got a lot of fans. Critics seem to like it. So back in October at New York Comic Con, showrunner Mike McMahon gave a few little tidbits about what Season 5 is going to be about. He said that there's going to be a possible connection to Star Trek Enterprise, which that'll be fun to see. Different visits to homeworlds of some of the regular characters, and also featuring more of the Vulcan officer, Lieutenant T'Lyn, which actually she's kind of grown to be one of my favorite characters, just the kind of dry humor and this kind of dry sarcasm that she has. She fits in really well with the other lower deckers that we have on the show. So I'm really looking forward to it. I hope that we get it on time, at the beginning of like August or something to that effect. If we have to wait a little bit, no big deal, but it'd be nice to have something to look forward to and mark on a calendar. Okay, the next series, Strange New Worlds, going into Season 3. So we know as of now that Season 3 is currently in production. I actually saw on the internet a couple of days ago, the director, I believe, of the second episode of the third season took a picture of her sitting in Captain Pike's captain's chair on the bridge, and basically said how much she already missed the cast. I think this is the second episode that she has directed of the series, and she just talks about a lot of the fun that she has with the cast. And when you watch the episode of Strange New Worlds, you can see that they have a good time filming and making this show. And that makes all the difference. It's kind of like watching Grease and watching the characters and the actors in Grease having a blast while they're doing their roles. So, as of now, there was a delay in the production for 7 months due to the writer's strike, obviously. So like I said, they're filming it right now. Again, there's no release date that's going to happen. I don't know if it would come out anything later than late fall. That's just my guess, because I mean, they're going to have to do all that post-production afterward. But who knows? Anything's possible. Then again, we don't really know a whole lot about what's going to be happening in Season 3, except the fact that it's still going to be episodic, and they're going to have different adventures, things like that. But we also know that the Gorn issue that was in the second season finale is going to have to be wrapped up, and that we're probably going to be seeing more of the actor who plays Scotty. His name's Martin Quinn. So now we'll see a little bit more of that. But other than that, it's kind of like a big old question mark of what's going to happen and when Season 3 will come out. The next project, now we're going to move into projects that haven't necessarily started yet or haven't aired. So we're going to go on to the Section 31 TV movie. Obviously, that was also delayed by the writer's strike. Basically, every project has been delayed by this writer's strike. It was originally supposed to start filming in the fall, but it looks like the production was going to start in January and wrap up in March. So we'll see what happens in that area right there. Here's the official synopsis of the Section 31 movie. Emperor Philippa Georgiou joins a secret division of Starfleet tasked with protecting the United Federation of Planets and faces the sins of her past. So as we know, it's too early now for any kind of trailer per se, or teaser trailer or anything. But it'll be interesting to see what they come up with for that. I'm personally, as much as I enjoyed Section 31 on Deep Space Nine, I really didn't like it on Discovery, and I just kind of... Section 31 just kind of takes so much away from like what the ideals of Star Trek's supposed to be about. It's like the counterculture of Starfleet ideals to me. So I'm not really exactly excited about the project. I mean, I'll watch it just to see what they come up with. But it'll be fun to know when we actually have a release date for that project. Now, a project that I'm really looking forward to is the Star Trek Con Ceti Alpha 5 podcast. And we know that that was first mentioned on Star Trek Day 2022, and it's supposed to be directed by Nicholas Meyer, telling the story of Khan with his exile on Ceti Alpha 5. So again, no release date has been set for this project, and again, it was delayed due to writer strikes. I'm hoping that if it hasn't gone into production already, that it's going to be happening at some point soon. I'm hoping that we're going to get a little bit more news now that it's officially been announced, because there was a period where it was like in developmental hell. We heard about it for years and nothing came about it. I'm really fascinated about what this project is going to be like. I've always been fascinated by the story about Khan and his people, what happened to them on Ceti Alpha 5 after they were left there by Kirk and the crew. And I'm also kind of wondering, is it going to be affected by the canonical change that they made to the timeline, saying that Khan now was born in the early 2020s, or as a child in the 2020s rather than in the 90s. I'm hoping that they'll just stick with the original story like it was in Space Seed and in The Wrath of Khan, but who knows? I don't know what they're going to do about that. I think it was ridiculous to begin with that they made those changes in Strange New Worlds, but hey, whatever. But anyway, I'm really looking forward to that project. All right, another project that I'm going to bring up right now is pretty much, it's not a show itself, but it's a documentary, and it's the Star Trek Voyager documentary that was crowdfunded and fans donated money to a couple of years ago. So it looks like 2024 is going to be when that documentary is going to be released, and the title of the documentary is "To the Journey: Looking Back at Star Trek Voyager." Perfect name for it. All right. So they had the record-breaking crowdfunding campaign, and the makers of the film, 455 Films, I guess they're planning on holding some back screenings in the late summer, with the general release possibly either in late summer or early fall. So at least that's one project that it looks like we're going to actually see this year. That's definite, along with Discovery. They definitely said 2024, so we'll see, but I'm really looking forward to that. Voyager holds a special place in my heart. It started when I was in 8th grade, it ended at the end of my sophomore year of college, so Voyager took me through my adolescent years into adulthood. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what they come up with for this documentary. Alrighty. The Starfleet Academy show. So we know that was announced earlier last year, something to that effect. It looks like it's going to be taking place post-Discovery in the 32nd century. As we know now, the writer's room has been assembled, and that was assembled before the writing strike began in May, and it looks like they started work again on getting stories together for Starfleet Academy in October. Apparently, according to the news that I was able to research, the show was supposed to start production early in 2024, but obviously that's going to have moved. So more than likely, we probably won't get to see Starfleet Academy until 2025, especially with all the other projects that are still, of the current series that already exist. So don't be expecting to see this one anytime soon this year. All right, so those are the basic projects that are in development right now, are being talked about. But there is one that I really want to address that I don't understand why it hasn't been greenlit. Star Trek Legacy. All over the internet you see people wanting this show, and it got the perfect cast for it. They got Jerry Ryan, who can come back as 7 of 9. You got Raffi, who is the first officer. You've got Jack Crusher, Jack Picard, whatever you want to call him, who's there on board. And then you have some of the characters that we saw in Picard's 3rd season, like LaForge's daughter, I believe it's Sydney. Or Laundra, I can't remember which one it was, but one of the two. I mean, they've got good characters there, and I'm sure they could try to find a way to bring Captain Shaw back for it, which would be, I think, a good idea. But they haven't greenlit this show, to our knowledge, as of this point, and it doesn't make sense. Star Trek fans want to see the Star Trek universe move beyond the Next Generation era, past the Picard era of the early 25th century, and start expanding that area. No more prequels, which we're going to get to here in a minute, but forget the prequels. Move forward. If this is if Strange New Worlds exists because the fans were calling for it, and it's this big success, why can't Legacy be a big success? Especially if Terry Matalas shows the intuition and the ability to make good stories like he did in Picard Season 3. Why not do this project? It doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, I'm not saying that they won't, but it's like right now it's like it's in limbo. Even though the fans are demanding that this project be made, and the actors and actresses want it done too. Paramount, CBS, whoever the heck is the owner now, I can't keep it straight anymore. Just greenlight this project and make it happen. Trust me, it'll be worth your while. And you'll have a really happy fandom of Star Trek geeks. Okay, trust me on that. Alright? But that's it pretty much for the projects that are going to be coming up. Now, kind of along the lines with what I was talking about with Star Trek Legacy and Jerry Ryan, I figured I might as well talk about this little piece of news. So on January 8th, the Hollywood Creative Alliance held their 3rd annual Astra TV Awards. All right, and Star Trek Picard actually won 2 of those awards. Jerry Ryan won for Best Supporting Actress in a drama series, streaming series, for her role of 7 of 9 in Picard. And you can watch her acceptance speech online. And basically she talks about how great it is to play 7 of 9 again after 20 years. Remember, when she was done with Voyager, she was pretty much done with it. It was a rough 4 years for her. She was ready to move on. But when she was brought back in Picard, she felt like this renewal of energy in terms of playing the character. And she said, quote, more fun and cooler regarding to 7 of 9, 20 years past Voyager. And she also thanked Terry Matalas for the, quote, amazing character development. So, and on top of that, Terry Matalas also won an award for Best Writing in a Streaming Drama Series for the Picard Season 3 finale, The Last Generation. So again, there you go. You've got 2 Picard Astra TV Award winners showing how much the 3rd season of Picard meant to the writer, the actor, actresses, and the fans. Again, why are you not greenlighting this project, Paramount, CBS, whoever the hell, okay? Get it done. You won't regret it, I'm telling you. All right? Now, there were some other awards that Star Trek was nominated for, specifically Picard, for the Astra TV Awards, but did not win. Matalas was also nominated for Best Directing, but lost out to Nelson Craig from The Boys. Picard Season 3 was nominated for Best Streaming Drama Series, but also lost out to The Boys. Sir Patrick Stewart lost out, of all people. He lost out for Best Actor to Anthony Starr from The Boys. Brent Spiner lost out for Best Supporting Actor to Jensen Ackles from The Boys. I've never seen or heard of this show, The Boys, so now I'm curious what took away all these awards from our show. And then Michelle Forbes was nominated for Best Guest Actress in a Drama Series, but she lost out to Regina Taylor from CSI Vegas. So all these different people that were nominated and lost out. But we still got Jerry Ryan won an award, which was well-deserved, and Terry Matalas, good job both of you guys. I'm very proud of all of you. Star Trek Lower Decks was also nominated for Best Streaming Animated Series or TV Movie, but that award went to Attack on Titan. So, but anyway, good to Star Trek Lower Decks for having a nomination as well. So, again, use this to the creators, the current runners of Star Trek, use this as an example to say, why can't we ride on the coattails of what Picard Season 3 did? If it was that good and the fans want it, let's make it happen. Alrighty. Okay. Now, along with other projects with Star Trek, we talked a lot about the TV stuff and the podcast for Con and everything. There's actually some movie news that came out during January. Alright? So, first thing is Patrick Stewart basically said that there is going to be a Star Trek, or a Captain Picard movie in development, which I was kind of surprised to hear about. I thought after Picard Season 3, the Next Generation characters were done. Now, he didn't really say much about it, per se, but really what happened was in November, he was on the Happy, Sad, Confused podcast, and the host, Joshua Horowitz, asked asked Patrick Stewart what his hopes were for Star Trek and for his character possibly moving forward. And Picard's talking about, some of the same old stuff that he said about why he had chosen to be in Picard and play his character all these years later. But he also said, and this is a quote, "So it's an ongoing procedure for me. I heard only last night about a script that is being written, but written specifically with the actor, Patrick Stewart, to play in it," so referring to himself. "And I've been told to expect to receive it within a week or so. I'm so excited because it sounds like the kind of project where the experimentation that I want to do will be essential for this kind of material. It's good at 83. Okay, end quote. So, I certainly have no issue if he wants to do another Captain Picard project, Admiral Picard project. Why not? It's great when these characters come together. Question of it is, so when the Next Generation did their last movie, Nemesis, not only was Patrick Stewart upset about how it ended the Next Generation's legacy, but so was the rest of the Next Generation cast. So that was a big reason why they all reunited for Picard Season 3, to give proper closure to their characters. The third season ended their story very, very nicely. They're all reunited. There's still one big happy family. They ended around the poker table. It was wonderful. Does Patrick Stewart really want to risk ruining the end of that story at this point by maybe really, if you think about it, the only real good thing he could do with a project at this point would be would just lead to the end of his character. He's 83 years old. How much longer can he play Admiral Picard? And I'm not trying to be ageist in any way, but there has to be a time where it ends. So all I can really think of is if they did this project, it would have to deal with the death of his character once and for all. And to some degree, I think that's fine. It would be nice to see our characters actually have endings to their characters, whether they die or go off into the sunset, whatever it is. You know, in that way, as Star Trek fans, as we continue to get older, we can look back and say, okay, well, they actually got an ending. We didn't get that with a lot of the original series characters. A lot of them, just kind of went off into who knows where. Okay, but we actually could get something concrete with Picard in a new movie. But does he want to risk having another Nemesis situation where his character ends in such a bad way? That's the big question. Okay, so after that, talking about Captain Picard, there were 2 more movies. So apparently Star Trek 4 is back up and running again. I don't understand why we keep hearing about this movie. It kind of seems like it's here, it's gone, it's here, it's gone, it's here, it's gone. So I'm taking the news with this one with a grain of salt at this point. But apparently from Deadline, Star Trek 4 is still going to be a follow-up to 2016 Star Trek Beyond, and it remains in active development. Deadline also gave a report on the development of the new movie. Though there hasn't been a film since 2016 Star Trek Beyond, the brand is still strong as it's ever been, with popular Paramount Plus shows like Picard and Strange New Worlds earning strong reviews and big ratings in a time since the last film bowed in theaters. Brian Robbins-led regime saw an opportunity to build on that popularity with multiple films in development, the same way the streamer had multiple shows going at once. Okay, fine, whatever, we'll see. If it happens, great. I do believe that it would be the last movie for the Kelvin crew of the Enterprise. And that's fine, you know, have your 4 movies and it be done. But it just, have something finally get done. I mean, it's been coming up on 8 years now since the last movie. Let's move along with this here. All right. Now, on top of that, it was also announced in January that they're developing a prequel to the Kelvin Timeline movies. Apparently, it says here, according to Deadline, reports say the film, quote, expands on the Star Trek universe, end quote. J.J. Abrams is producing this one again, and they're going to, apparently the director is going to be named Toby Haynes, who was nominated for an Emmy for directing Andor and is a Hugo winner for his work on Doctor Who. And apparently this movie is an origin story that takes place decades before the 2009 Star Trek movie. So I always thought that when the Narada came back in the 2009 movie and it caused the Kelvin timeline to be created, that was the breaking point in the Prime timeline and the Kelvin timeline. So wouldn't the prequel be basically just the same as what we've seen in the Kelvin or the Prime timeline? I mean, I don't know. I guess part of me just doesn't understand this obsession with Star Trek and going to prequels. They want to go back to prequels and then they don't follow the continuity like they're supposed to. And then you get stories where the Gorn are apparently been around for years before they saw them in Arena. So there's that question mark there. Then you have the whole thing with Khan screwed up now. And it's just, why these prequels? Move forward. That's what the fans want. You can read it online on these Star Trek websites. They want people to move forward. No one's asking for a prequel to the Kelvin movies. I just don't get it. I mean, if it's a good story, I'm certainly going to be open-minded and give it a shot, but what's the point? What do we need it for? I just don't get it. All right, another story that I wanted to talk about very briefly. Apparently, all of the original series and Next Generation movies have been taken off of Paramount Plus again. You know, the home of Star Trek. I just don't get this. So they get rid of Prodigy for different reasons, and then now these movies are being taken away from Paramount Plus again, I guess for, you know, contracts or whatever, or deals. And it's being moved to Max, which used to be HBO Max. I just don't I understand why this keeps going on. I guess, again, like I said, I can only imagine it's only for different deals and, you know, things of that nature. But I just why can't Paramount just keep their stuff all together? I just don't understand it. But they'll have the 3 Kelvin timeline movies are remaining on Paramount Plus. Okay, so wonderful. You got those movies, but then you got 10 movies that, whether they were big successes or not, are big parts of the Star Trek franchise. Keep it with the rest of the shows. You know, and to me, it's just as stupid as Prodigy being sent away. I just don't get it. But anyway, that's, if you want to watch the original Star Trek movies, go over to Max and watch them. I'm going to watch them on my Blu-rays and DVDs in the comfort of my own home. I'm glad I bought them, and I'm keeping them. All right. Another little interesting story that came up, and I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but I just thought it was an interesting story in the Star Trek fandom. So, William Shatner doesn't expect to return to Star Trek and accuses Paramount Plus of erasing his Kirk. So this story came out on January 10th. So as you know, on Star Trek Day 2023, they had the art, and it had all different characters from the different franchises, things of that nature. But the one character that was prominently missing was William Shatner's James T. Kirk. Now, he basically, and fans obviously responded to that, and, you know, and William Shatner kind of added some fuel to the fire with that. I mean, I can understand if he was basically the face of Star Trek for so many years, not having his image on that art would seem a little odd. Absolutely, you know. But he responded on X to some of these things. One person asked if he really thought that Kirk was being rewritten over, and William Shatner said in his tweet, quote, "All you have to do is look at the Paramount Plus graphics to answer that question." He also continued talking on X and said, quote, "It's not the first time it's been going on for years. It makes no difference to me that a group who think they are enlightened, or whatever they think they are, obviously feel threatened by the Kirk character. It's a character from the 1960s TV show. Get over it." He also said, "It doesn't bother me in the least. A bunch of self-righteous strangers thinking they are sending a message by erasing the past? Who is going to forget? It's everywhere. It's so indoctrinated that it will take many generations to be forgotten no matter what they do. Let it be." So, I go on Facebook, Twitter, and I'm part of a lot of Star Trek groups and things of that nature, and I can see the fandom is pretty split. I can see that we have a lot of older fans who, you know, are very supportive of what came before, and very supportive of William Shatner. But you have a lot of the newer fans who've been brought in by the current Star Trek stuff, and they're looking at the original series stuff and saying, well, this is sexist, this is racist, this is feminist, whatever, you know, whatever they're saying. Okay, so there's like a bit of a divide. So there are a lot of people who support William Shatner, a lot of people who don't support William Shatner. Where I stand with the whole thing is, I see both sides. Obviously, William Shatner, to me, is the face of Star Trek. I mean, he was the main character in the very original Star Trek series. So that makes sense, okay? Here's the other thing, though. When he goes and he's bad-mouthing the current Star Trek regime or current Star Trek shows, and he did, by one of the Comic-Cons, he was asked about what he thinks about current Star Trek, and he said that he felt that, and I'm paraphrasing here, but that Gene Roddenberry would be rolling around in his grave. And we obviously don't know what Gene Roddenberry would truly be thinking about that, but that set a bit of an uproar up in the fandom. Again, 50-50 in my opinion on which side people were on. But I mean, if he makes comments like that, yeah, the marketing people are going to kind of be like, well, he doesn't want anything to do with us, we're cutting him out, okay? You know, I don't think they're replacing him with Paul Wesley's Kirk. I think he's there because it's supposed to be a prequel to the original series, whatever. But anyway, it's supposed to be a prequel to the original series, and you know, so I don't think they're necessarily like so focused on Paul Wesley, but I mean, it makes sense that they're not going to be big fans of William Shatner's either. All right? And the last thing I want to bring up in this video, and it's a very sad story. On January 22nd, we lost a very important Star Trek actor who had a recurring role in Star Trek Enterprise. Gary Graham, who played Ambassador Saval, unfortunately passed away of what appears to be cardiac arrest. I don't know if this was something that was unexpected or if he was sick in any way, but it was a very, very sad story because he really did a wonderful job playing Ambassador Saval. Watching his character grow from this arrogant, almost angry Vulcan who couldn't stand Captain Archer and almost couldn't stand humanity, basically, and whatever progress they were making into space. He kept belittling them, saying that they were too immature to go into space. And then to end by the end of the series as being one of the big supporters of Captain Archer and gaining each other's respect. And he was actually standing there applauding Archer's speech for the beginning of the Coalition of Planets in Terra Prime. So, I mean, to see that change, it was a wonderful thing to watch over 4 seasons. And he played Tanis in the second season episode of Voyager, I believe it was Cold Fire, where he played Ed O'Cumpen, who was working with Suspiria, the other caretaker, and was kind of teaching Kes about her telekinetic powers, maybe a little too early. But he did a very good job there. Now, I've always loved Gary Graham. I don't know all of the projects he's ever done, but I loved him in Alienation when I was growing up. He played the character of Matt Sykes to perfection, to a T, and just made a very wonderful character. It's sad that we're losing more and more people as we get older, and that's what really sucks about getting older, is I'm learning, now that I'm 43, and I'm starting to lose people in my life. Nothing's forever. And you have to enjoy the times that you have with the people in your life. And that could be just the people that you know in your life, or even just thinking about the actors and actresses that you enjoy their work of. Eventually they're going to be gone too, and really that's kind of a loss of a family member as well, because we take them into our homes, in our hearts, and on our screens, and we feel an attachment to them. Their characters and just them as actors and actresses. You know, so it's hard to watch heroes and people that we've watched for so many years pass away. But it's a big loss to the Star Trek community, and Gary Graham, I hope that you rest in peace. And thank you for the good memories of all the characters that you've created for us. All right? So that's pretty much it. That's my episode for episode 100 of Pittsburgh's Trek Chat. I would love for you guys, if anybody has anything they want to say, any comments about what I talked about, please feel free to comment down below. I'd love to read them. I'll get back to you with some responses. If you want to watch any of the previous shows on YouTube, simply just go to YouTube, type in Pittsburgh's Trek Chat in a search engine, and it'll take you directly to my channel. You can follow the show on Facebook, facebook.com/Pittsburgh's Trek Chat. You can also follow the show on X at PGH Trek Chat. I'm looking forward to the next episode, and until then, may yins live long and prosper.